They say love can heal, but sometimes, love hides a nightmare. She thought she was building a new life. She had no idea she had just opened her door to pure evil. This isn't just a story about deception, it's about survival, silence, and a town that will never be the same. Stay with us, because the truth hiding behind that smile will chill you to the bone. They say a mother's choice can build a world. Or shatter one. It's a heavy burden, isn't it? Choosing who gets close not just to you, but to your children. In the sleepy, sun-dappled town of Oakhaven, Oklahoma, where life usually ambled along predictable paths, a place where unlocked doors weren't uncommon and porch swings creaked in lazy rhythm, Eleanor Vance made such a choice. A choice that felt like sunshine after a long storm. Recently divorced from David Miller, the steady, reliable father figure her kids had known for years, Eleanor was cautiously rebuilding. Her life revolved around her 3 teenagers, vibrant Chloe, the eldest daughter, quieter, watchful Sophia Allen from a previous relationship, and Leo Mayo, her energetic son. They were a unit, accustomed to the rhythm set by Eleanor and David, even post-divorce. Then came Marcus Thorne. He blew into Oakhaven like a warm breeze, all easy charm and attentive smiles. He saw Eleanor, truly saw her, or so it seemed. He listened, really listened, reflecting back the image of the woman she desperately wanted to be again. The romance was swift and tense. A whirlwind courtship that ended, perhaps too quickly for some onlookers, at the altar. Suddenly, they were the Vance Thorne blended family. Trying. Striving for that picture-perfect ideal you see in magazines. Barbecues in the backyard, movie nights, homework help. Marcus seemed determined to be the perfect husband, the perfect stepfather. Even Leo, initially wary, started calling him Marcus. But sometimes, didn't his smile seem stretched? A little too tight around the edges? A flicker in his eyes when you least expected it? Maybe it was nothing. Just the stress of a new life. Or maybe it was a glimpse beneath the carefully constructed mask. How could this seemingly happy home, this second chance Eleanor so desperately wanted, become the epicenter of an unspeakable horror? What secrets festered behind the newly painted front door? From the outside, the Vance Thorne household in quiet Oakhaven seemed like a dream realized, but dreams can quickly curdle into nightmares, especially when one partner guards a past shrouded in darkness. That idyllic dream, the one shimmering just out of reach after her divorce, felt suddenly, thrillingly solid with Marcus Thorne by her side. Eleanor Vance threw herself into building this new life, pouring hope into every freshly painted wall and planned family meal. This time, she thought, would be different. Better. She just had to make it work. For herself, for the kids. The family dynamics, though, well, blending is never seamless, is it? Marcus laid on the charm thick. Chloe, her oldest, seemed captivated, easily won over by his compliments and the way he treated her like a grown-up. 15-year-old Leo, initially glued to his video games and monosyllabic around the newcomer, eventually thawed, lured in by Marcus's apparent interest in basketball. But 17-year-old Sophia, she remained watchful, her gaze often lingering on Marcus with an unnerving quietness that Eleanor couldn't quite decipher. Was it just teenage aloofness, or something more? Marcus played his part with dedication. Always attentive to Eleanor, quick with a helpful hand or whispered endearment. He was the image of the doting husband. Yet, tiny red flags sometimes fluttered at the edge of Eleanor's perception. A subtle possessiveness disguised as concern. Who called, honey? Where are you heading out to? Little questions that felt slightly too probing. Comments about her friends, suggestions about her clothes, always framed as loving advice. She brushed them off. Chalked it up to him caring deeply, wanting to protect their new happiness. Who wouldn't be a little insecure? Besides, wasn't this stability what she craved? Even her ex, David Miller, noticed something, though he couldn't put his finger on it. His concern, voiced gently during a strained phone call about weekend plans, felt like interference to Eleanor, a doubt she couldn't afford. He seems intense, David had said carefully. Eleanor had bristled, defending Marcus, defending her choice. The illusion held. From game nights filled with laughter to Sunday dinners where everyone dutifully played their part, the facade was meticulously maintained. He played the part of the devoted family man flawlessly, but the mask Marcus Thorne wore hid a past far more terrifying than anyone in Oakhaven could imagine. But the devoted family man Eleanor Vance had married, the man trying to win over her children, was a carefully constructed illusion. The real Marcus Thorne had crawled out of a past steeped in violence and depravity, a history carefully scrubbed and hidden from Oakhaven's view. It wasn't just youthful indiscretions, though those existed, the underage drinking citations, the driving on a suspended license. No, the darkness ran much deeper. It started, perhaps, with the money stolen from his own grandfather. Tens of thousands. Not a desperate grab, but a calculated betrayal spun later, no doubt, as some kind of complicated family loan, a misunderstanding. He pleaded guilty to felony grand larceny, a significant brush with the law he likely minimized with practiced ease. Then things turned truly ugly. The mask slipped entirely one night, revealing the predator beneath. A 17-year-old girl, terrorized at knife point. The attack wasn't just violent, it was sickeningly sexual in its motivation. Cold. Calculated. Brutal. It earned Marcus Thorne a hefty 20-year prison sentence. Behind bars, the performance continued. On paper, Marcus was a model inmate. Stellar work evaluations, participation in educational programs. He knew how to play the game, how to tick the right boxes, how to present the face the parole board wanted to see. But the real Marcus festered underneath. Twice, he was caught with contraband cell phones, forbidden lifelines to the outside world. The second time, the phone's contents were damning. Explicit photos, videos, sexually charged messages exchanged with a 16-year-old girl named Isabel Croft. Not just flirting, we're talking graphic images sent back and forth, conversations laced with control and promises designed to ensnare a vulnerable teenager. Grooming. Manipulation. The exact same predatory behavior that landed him in prison in the first place, continuing while he was incarcerated. It showed a chilling lack of remorse, a terrifying consistency in his nature. It was a chilling performance of rehabilitation, played only for the audience who held the keys. Despite needing to serve the vast majority of his sentence, despite the blatant prison violations involving illicit contact with a minor, violations that should have slammed the brakes on any hope of early freedom, Marcus Thorne somehow walked out of prison years ahead of schedule. How does that even happen? A system failure? A masterful con job? Probably both. Whatever the reason, the gates opened, unleashing him back into a world dangerously unaware of the monster they just set free. Released early, carrying secrets darker than prison walls, Marcus Thorne walked free, a predator polished and ready to hunt again. The question wasn't if his past would catch up, but when, and who would pay the ultimate price when it finally did. How could such a man walk free, let alone into the heart of a family? That question hung heavy in the air, unspoken but palpable. The answer began to surface not in shouts, but in whispers, and warning signs easily dismissed until they became impossible to ignore. The first tremor hit when the court date for the Isabel Croft case finally landed on the calendar. That shadow from Marcus's prison past, the illicit contact with the teenager, was no longer a distant issue, it was imminent. May 1st, Marcus, when pressed, waved it away with practiced nonchalance. "It's nothing, he'd assure Eleanor, his voice smooth as silk. "Just some vindictive kid trying to cause trouble. My lawyers got it handled." He'd even try to twist it, painting himself as the victim of a misunderstanding, perhaps even blaming Isabel herself. But the most jarring crack in the facade came from an unexpected source, Eleanor's own mother, Margaret Vance. A practical woman, Margaret had been researching an old co-worker's minor infraction online one evening when a related search suggestion popped up Marcus Thorne's name. Curiosity piqued, she clicked. What unfolded on the screen, the grand larceny, the violent assault conviction, the details, left her breathless and cold with dread. The confrontation was agonizing. Margaret, armed with printouts, laid bare the horrifying truth in Eleanor's sunlit kitchen. Eleanor stared, disbelief warring with a sickening lurch in her stomach. Then Marcus arrived home, saw the papers, and immediately shifted into damage control. The charm offensive went into high gear. Excuses, justifications, minimization. He spun tales of youthful folly, of being railroaded, of things being not as they seemed. He was so convincing. So earnest. Did Eleanor believe him? Or did she simply need to believe him too desperately? Was it woeful blindness, a refusal to see the monster behind the man she loved, or was she already trapped, afraid of the alternative? The issue of the background check suddenly felt flimsy. Had Marcus faked the all-clear report he'd so proudly presented? Had Eleanor, trusting him, simply relayed that assurance to David Miller without verifying it herself? Questions swirled, unanswered. As May 1st drew closer, the tension in the house became a physical presence. Marcus grew quieter, moodier, his possessiveness subtly tightening its grip. The mast was slipping. As the last weekend of April arrived, the air in the Vance Thorne house grew thick with unspoken fears and fragile hopes. The countdown to Marcus's trial had begun, and with it, the countdown to an unimaginable horror. Against this backdrop of looming court dates and barely hidden anxieties, the final weekend of April unfolded, disguised as a typical teenage gathering. Chloe Vance was thrilled. Her best friends, Maya Jenkins and Olivia Hayes, were coming for a sleepover. The air buzzed with plans, gossip, movies, maybe hitting the mall near Tulsa or the flashy main event fun center Marcus had mentioned. Just normal teenage stuff. Marcus himself seemed determined to play the gracious host. He picked up Olivia on Saturday afternoon, exchanging pleasantries with her parents, Mr. Congeniality himself. Though maybe his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. He was present throughout the afternoon, maybe hovering a bit too much, his gaze lingering occasionally, or perhaps just seeming preoccupied, glancing often at his phone while the girls giggled over inside jokes. Were those ominous signs? Or just everyday distractions? Hard to tell, isn't it? Maya, ever communicative, kept her mom, Laura Jenkins, updated with snaps throughout Saturday evening, laughing selfies, pictures of snacks, the usual teenage documentation. Everything seemed fine. Normal, even. But Sunday morning brought a strange shift. Both Maya's and Olivia's parents received brief, almost identical text messages from their daughters' phones around mid-morning. Something about an impromptu trip. Heading out to Marcus's family property out near Black Creek. Going swimming, one text read, uncharacteristically blunt. Be back later. It felt off. Rushed. Not quite right. Laura Jenkins frowned at her phone. Maya never texted like that, usually adding emojis or chatty details. But maybe they were just excited teenagers, eager for an adventure. As Sunday afternoon bled into evening, however, the silence stretched. No follow-up texts. Calls went straight to voicemail. A knot of unease began to tighten in the parents' stomachs. Where were they? Why weren't they answering? The casual weekend plans suddenly felt coated in a thin layer of ice. Every passing hour amplified the silence, turning worry into a cold dread. Monday dawned not with school bells, but with silent dread. The bus passed empty driveways. Phones rang unanswered. And in the Oakhaven courthouse, Marcus Thorne was a no-show. The nightmare had begun. The silence from the Thorne property stretched into an unbearable tension on that awful Monday. While frantic parents bombarded the Oakhaven police station with calls, officers were already there, parked discreetly down the road. The kids hadn't made the school bus. Marcus Thorne hadn't shown for his court date. The pieces were clicking into a terrifying pattern. Missing persons reports were filed, anxiety churning into dread with every passing minute. Officers stood outside the quiet house, a barrier of procedure holding them back as they waited, agonizingly, for the warrant that would let them breach the unnerving stillness. The air felt thick, heavy. Waiting. When the warrant finally came through, they moved in. Perhaps expecting to find runaways, perhaps something worse, but surely not this. Nothing prepares you for walking into hell. The initial discovery was staggering enough, finding Marcus Thorne himself among the dead. But the horror compounded exponentially as they moved through the sprawling property. One body became 2, then 3, until the unthinkable number was reached. 7. 7 souls silenced. The grim task of identification began, each name a fresh wave of shock: Eleanor Vance. Her children, Chloe, Sophia, Leo. And the visiting friends, Maya Jenkins and Olivia Hayes. All gone. The brutality was sickeningly intimate, each victim shot, execution style. Eleanor bore the marks of particular rage, multiple wounds suggesting a final, focused fury. Some bodies were found near the house, others further out, discovered in a densely wooded area nearly a quarter-mile away. Had they been running? Trying to escape? Or were they killed in different, terrifying episodes across the property? The scene screamed chaos, desperation, and unimaginable violence. The initial conclusion, stark and horrifying, settled over the stunned investigators and the devastated Oakhaven community: a mass murder followed by suicide. 7 lives extinguished in a storm of violence, ending with the perpetrator's own. As Oakhaven reeled in shock and grief, the urgent question echoed: what drove Marcus Thorne to commit such an atrocity, and what horrors were hidden behind his charming facade? In the horrifying silence that followed the discovery, investigators began the grim task of piecing together not just what happened, but why. The answers lay scattered within the house itself, and chilling digital footprints, and in the haunted memories of those who had crossed Marcus Thorne's path before. What they found inside the seemingly normal family home painted a grotesque picture, far removed from the curated facade Oakhaven saw. Investigators catalogued items that spoke of unimaginable horrors: multiple beds fitted with restraints, heavy chains locked into place. An island in the kitchen inexplicably had a chain and lock bolted to it. Bondage gear, lubricants, disturbing books hinting at dark rituals or occult interests. It was a scene straight from a nightmare, suggesting a secret life steeped in control and depravity. Then came the echoes from the past, voices finally being heard. Isabel Croft, the young woman whose looming trial likely triggered the massacre, shared the desperate, blaming messages Marcus sent her the night before the killings. "I'd built a great life like I promised with you," he'd written, dripping with manipulation. "This is all on you, now it's all gone. I told you I wouldn't go back." It was the sound of a cornered animal, furious his secrets were about to be exposed. Another voice, Sarah Bellwether, a previous victim attacked years ago when she was just 16, spoke of the terror she'd endured and her futile pleas to authorities not to release Marcus, fearing he would harm again. Her warnings, tragically, went unheeded. Even inside prison walls, the monster hadn't slept. Daniel Graves, a former cellmate, described Marcus Thorne with a shudder, recalling his constant, unsettling talk about sex, his predatory vibes so intense Graves felt physically threatened. His weird sexual predator just came out of him, Graves stated bluntly. For the grieving families, Laura Jenkins, Robert Hayes, Margaret Vance, David Miller, the revelations were devastating blows on top of unimaginable loss. They hadn't known. How could they have known? They saw the charming man, the loving husband, the fun stepdad. They remembered Laura Jenkins' confusion over that final, oddly worded text from Maya, now understanding it was likely sent by Marcus himself after Maya was already gone. And perhaps most chilling? The discovery of a notebook. Inside, a list of names, including the 6 people Marcus had just murdered. Planning? A sick tally? The evidence, the testimonies, the tears, they all painted the same monstrous portrait. Marcus Thorne wasn't just a killer, he was a master manipulator who thrived in the shadows. How did he manage to deceive so many, and could this tragedy have been prevented? The horrifying truth about Marcus Thorne inevitably led to painful questions that extended far beyond one man's horrific actions. How could this tragedy have been prevented? You look back and the systemic failures glare like faulty warning lights ignored on a dark highway. How does a man with documented, serious prison violations mirroring the very crimes that imprisoned him, get granted early release? It's baffling. What about the monitoring afterwards? The rules he supposedly had to follow, seemingly flouted without consequence. These weren't just cracks in the justice system, they were gaping holes that Marcus Thorne slipped through with practiced ease. Even the immediate aftermath, the reported chaos surrounding the crime scene investigation itself, hints at a system perhaps overwhelmed, unprepared for the scale of calculated darkness it confronted. And then there's the chilling effectiveness of Marcus Thorne's facade. His manipulation wasn't just about charming words, it was a meticulously crafted performance designed to disarm, deceive, and ultimately, control. How easily he presented one face to the world, the doting husband, the friendly neighbor, while nurturing the unseen enemy within. It makes you wonder about Eleanor Vance, caught in that web. Was she purely a victim of his sophisticated deception? Was she paralyzed by fear, trapped in a situation she couldn't escape? Or did willful blindness play a part, a desperate need to believe in the dream overriding the disturbing warning signs? We may never know the full complexity of her perspective, the silent battles fought behind closed doors. What's undeniable is the terrifying reality of evil hiding in plain sight, cloaked in normalcy. It's a stark reminder of how little we sometimes know about those closest to us, how easily appearances deceive. The red flags were there, fluttering insistently, yet tragically misinterpreted or explained away until it was far too late. The Oakhaven tragedy serves as a chilling reminder that monsters rarely announce themselves. They wear familiar faces, offer charming smiles, and weave webs of deception that can trap even the most vigilant among us. What lingers is the shadow of doubt, and the question of how we protect ourselves from the evil we cannot see. In the wake of such darkness, questions linger, and systems are scrutinized. But beyond the analysis and the search for answers lie the indelible scars left on hearts and a community forever changed by Oakhaven's shadow. The true cost isn't measured in headlines or procedural reviews, but in the extinguished potential of 7 unique lives. We must remember Eleanor Vance, not just as a victim, but as the fiercely protective mother her family described, a woman seeking happiness who tragically encountered unimaginable betrayal. Remember Chloe, on the cusp of young adulthood, full of vibrancy. Remember quiet, observant Sophia, whose wariness perhaps saw more than others realized. Remember energetic Leo, won over by a facade of shared interests. And remember Maya Jenkins and Olivia Hayes, bright young friends full of laughter and sleepover plans, their dreams of teaching or veterinary work, of pageants and futures, brutally stolen during what should have been a weekend of innocent fun. The lasting legacy for their families, for Margaret Vance, David Miller, Laura Jenkins, Robert Hayes, and countless others, is a landscape of grief too vast to comprehend. Oakhaven itself, once known for its sleepy tranquility, now bears an invisible wound, a constant reminder of the horror that unfolded behind one ordinary door. There are no easy answers here, no simple explanations for the complexity of evil or the devastating power of manipulation. This cautionary tale isn't about assigning blame in hindsight, but about acknowledging the chilling reality that sometimes, the most dangerous threats are the ones we invite inside. It underscores the vital importance of vigilance, of trusting our instincts, and recognizing that appearances can be profoundly deceiving. The human cost is immeasurable, a stark testament to the hidden dangers that can lurk beneath even the most charming smile, forever altering lives and leaving behind only questions, grief, and the enduring shadows of what might have been.